Alright, let's big bang this video into existence.
Discover a space vehicle unlike any you've ever seen before.
Alright, let's prepare to take a trip to the Star Trek universe, the future. A very special day, so this is going to be a very special event that we're not going to let anything preempt. So you ready to go to the Star Trek universe?
Let's go.
Okay, we're talking about First Contact Day. This is going to be all about Star Trek First Contact Day. And, you know, I like to talk about Star Trek. So, yeah, gonna go take a look at the universe of Star Trek.
On screen.
Now entering Glory Hole.
Anyway, just a simple video talking about Star Trek. Hopefully you'll enjoy.
Okay. I already filmed the intro for my First Contact Day video for, or I should say I already edited the intro for my Star Trek First Contact Day video, even before Star Trek First Contact Day. That said, I did have some delays. If I'm lucky, looking at the calendar, this might be a Star Trek First Contact month video. Maybe not. Hey, at least I'll probably have it up before Star Trek First Contact Day of next year, but it's going to be a late upload. Yeah, that's right. Didn't run over enough games of sports ball to keep this from being preempted. Although it was mainly preempted because of my own personal mismanagement of my own personal time, rather than sports ball. But sports ball is the worst of all, so yeah, at least it's not preempted for sports ball. Peace out, live long and prosper, and stay tuned for the video that's following this intro. Hello everybody, I'm Joey, and here I am. I set up a camera, or, well, recording device with a built-in camera, in a nice, lazy, easy, convenient position. Just in the backdrop isn't important. Hey, pumpkin, blue jack-o'-lantern, isn't that nice? I guess the location is a little bit important. Alright, so I'm doing a First Contact Day video, and if you notice by the general ambience, we're not dealing with artificial lighting here. It's daylight, and every time I'm awake during the daylight, I'm probably only doing it thanks to caffeine. So every now and then I'll be stopping to try and keep myself awake. Daylight. Well, alright, so First Contact Day. Yeah, last time I did a First Contact Day video was, I think I recorded it around First Contact Day, if not actually on First Contact Day, so it's pretty late getting around to editing it and putting it up. Dealing with a pandemic going on out there in the world, and so, you know, keep your decontamination gel on hand, and just, if you gotta go out, you gotta be around the humans. Don't forget your mask and your decontamination gel. Like, just makes me think of Star Trek Enterprise, because whenever I get back into the car, I'm covering myself, well, my hands anyway, covering my hands with decontamination gel. But you know what? You can coat it yourself all over with it, especially like there's some brands I really like this fucking one here. This was some good stuff. It's extra powerful. You can tell by the fumes it gives off and how strong it is. And you coat yourself in that. You just take everything all off. Pull off your uniform when you get back to the starship. Coat yourself in some decontamination gel. Rub it all over. Makes you warm and tingly in a few special places. Just awesome stuff. But I'm not here to talk about the plague going on outside on planet Earth. I'm talking about Star Trek First Contact, assuming I don't run out of space on this recording device. That'll probably happen. So right over here, let's see, there we go, alright, yeah, it's been a protective layer of plastic, but we have Star Trek First Contact. In fact, although Star Trek had a great long history on VHS, and probably beta as well, the old video cassette formats, the downside to those old video cassette formats was, I mean, it was a great format. I mean, I think everybody should keep a VCR somewhere in their house for watching that stuff. And I remember somebody online made a comment about physical media versus digital downloads. It's like, yeah, you can't watch your digital stuff in the future. Your physical stuff in the future. That's why digital is the way of the future. I'm like, what? You could even watch your old VCR. You can watch video cassettes recorded in the early 80s if you want now. No, you can't. It's like, yeah, you can. You just gotta get out a VCR and play it, you fucking moron. It's like they think as soon as a format becomes less common, or extinct, metaphorically extinct, you can't play it anymore. It's like, the fuck are you talking about? Your VCR doesn't evaporate. VCRs, that was a great technology, but the downside was, if you have a tape that's like a decade or 2 decades old, you'll start to notice a quality drop, you know, because the magnetic bits might demagnetize, and, you know, the actual glue that holds the magnetic particles in place could also break down over time. You lose a certain amount of visual quality. Well, one of these DVDs, digital video disc or digital versatile disc, is same fucking thing. You know, a century later, you know, it should play just fine, assuming something doesn't happen to it. But there is always the possibility of the material being improperly pressed and so forth, you know. Great format, wonderful format. Yeah, and it got the job done. It's not the highest resolution. It's not the contemporary format. It's not Blu-ray, but, you know, hey, it's good enough. And this was Star Trek's first release on DVD. At least in North America. I think it came a little later to Europe, and I think Europe, I don't know about other regions of the world. I think Europe might have got Star Trek Insurrection first, but North America got Star Trek First Contact first. I'm not sure about the European release, but I do know that Star Trek's first release on DVD was supposed to be this very version of Star Trek First Contact, which was pretty bare bones. They later released versions that had more special features and so forth. You know, there's another video I made where I talk about a version of it that came packaged with Star Trek Generations, because I kind of think of that as a great little time loop. Star Trek Generations, which a very underrated movie. You know, I don't know what to say other than it was underrated. That was a good one. I like it, actually, as a movie to watch and enjoy. I like it a lot more than First Contact, which kind of has the kind of dumb action movie feeling in Star Trek First Contact. I definitely prefer Star Trek Generations over First Contact, but in some ways I love First Contact even more, simply because it works as a prequel, or, well, it works as the original that leads into Star Trek Enterprise, and Star Trek Enterprise was the best that Star Trek has ever been, and that's a pretty good achievement. Star Trek Enterprise and Star Trek Nemesis was kind of like a last, like Star Trek got its second breath and came back better than ever after those really kind of okay but not great Voyager years. And then Deep Space Nine's final season, Season 7 of Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine, hey, one of my favorite Star Trek shows, but that final season sucked ass. I mean, just a fucking depressing season, but I love the new Dax. Yeah, Ezri Dax is fucking awesome, but the season itself, no. But anyway, yeah, fuck yeah, Enterprise was awesome. Anyway, yeah, but talking about First Contact for First Contact Day, you know, on that day in April, so many years in the future as of this recording, Yeah, so anyway, yeah, it was the first release of Star Trek in DVD format, was First Contact. So that's an interesting little bit of media history. And something else, I don't know if I'll ever get around to editing the video, but I may or may not have another video talking about this. But Star Trek Picard. Look at this, Star Trek Picard. Now, if you're thinking of the CBS All Access or Paramount Plus or whatever, the streaming series, it's kind of like a TV show, but on a lamer format. I mean, there's advantages to streaming formats. There's advantages to satellite channels. Satellite channels, they keep getting more expensive, so I'm not a big fan of the streaming services. But anyway, this is what I want here, video format. And this is Blu-ray. It's a protective plastic, but you can see it anyway. Star Trek Picard movie and TV collection. Not to be confused with Star Trek Picard, the... Yeah, Star Trek Picard is the name of a series, and a bad series at that. But this one that I just picked up and showed you in front of the camera is a collection of special episodes of Next Generation and the Next Generation based movies, which include Star Trek First Contact. And that is actually good. This right here is Star Trek Picard that is good. Star Trek Picard that is bad would be the series actually known as Star Trek Picard. That was probably released to kind of promote Star Trek Picard, the series, the Star Trek Picard TV and movies stuff, you know. But you know, very different levels of quality. The Next Generation episodes and movies. It's a wonderful collection. It includes First Contact. And, you know, I really like the DVDs. I mean, the Blu-rays. It's the Blu-ray version. I like a lot of the bonus features on the Blu-ray because they actually have sort of like things that are, rather than focusing on the director and people talking about the making of the series, I like that they add little things that are in-universe. Like, you can bring up, like, the LCARS, the Library Access Computer System, you know, the thing that'll bring up information on what you're seeing on the screen during the movie. And you can bring up little bits of Star Trek information on the screen while watching the movies. And I think that's really cool. A great thing about the Blu-ray version of Star Trek. And one of the reasons why I strongly recommend going out and collecting Star Trek on Blu-ray. They don't do it with everything Star Trek, but they do it with the movies. And I believe the original series had a few select episodes that did that as well, too. But, hey, great collection to get. And don't confuse it with Star Trek Picard Season 1, which is the Picard series, which is horrible. It is horrible. I mean, oh, god damn, fuck, that was bad. I mean, it started off and I'm like, ooh, this could be good. Star Trek Discovery was pretty bad, but this might be good. And by the end of Star Trek Picard Season 1, they haven't released Season 2 yet. It's probably in production. I don't care if they make a Season 2. Like, bringing back Picard, there's also going to be some 7 of 9 in there too. You know, hey, you know, this could be good. This could be good. And the first 4 episodes, there were a few things that were pretty questionable that happened. But oh god, that gets bad. It gets it's so bad. Riker's family murdering bunnycorn, a civilization that has replicator technology, and they're living like rednecks, murdering the wildlife. That was a pretty bad episode. Resurrecting Data just to have him commit suicide because he has a very stupid idea of what the ultimate butterfly is, and it's not the butterfly that lives forever.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Forever? Meets all the qualifications to be a butterfly, but actually would be the ultimate butterfly. the whole purpose of life is to keep on living or reproduce, which is kind of, you know, since we can't live forever, it's, you know, it's what we do to keep life going, you know. Or often it's an accident because, you know, people like to copulate and, you know. But anyway, back to, yeah, oh my God. Alright, that's an edit point there due to technical reasons of running out of space on the recording device. But it's just as well because I didn't want to make this video. It's good that the video stopped me for a moment there because I didn't want to make this video all about me complaining about how bad Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard are. And oh my God, they're unbelievably... Not gonna go there. Alright, so anyway, yeah, Star Trek First Contact and its effect on the Star Trek universe in Blu-ray form. I'm gonna talk about Blu-ray, focusing on Blu-ray for this special. Alright, this special episode where I talk about Star Trek. Alright, let's see where... Oh, here we go. Oh, Star Trek at its best. Right here I got in my hands 3 seasons of Star Trek Enterprise. That's right, Star Trek Enterprise. There's a 4th season, but yeah, I don't have it here. All right, you know, thing is, right from the start, Star Trek Enterprise, right from season 1, the best TV show ever made. The Orville and The Mandalorian, if you count Star Wars The Mandalorian as a TV show. I'm going to count it. Our close runner-ups. House MDs, you know, pretty high on my list of greatest TV shows of all time, but Star Trek Enterprise still takes the fucking cake on this one. Fucking awesome show, and you have to flip it around to the back of the case to see the fucking starship, the best starship ever made. But nonetheless, yeah, right from the start, you have Zephyr Cochrane as a follow-up to First Contact in a scene where... during the episode early on, dedicating the Warp 5 complex, which was the complex that led to the development of the ship that plays an important role in the series because it's the Enterprise that Star Trek Enterprise takes place on. And, you know, and right on the back of this, the NX Alpha, or is that the NX Delta? Well, I think it's the NX Alpha. The prototype, one of the prototypes that allowed them to develop the warp engines that were in the NX-01. A lot of Star Trek history in this. Also in the season 2 one, the one that has this on the back, the NX Delta on the back, you also have an encounter with the Borg, which was an excellent follow-up to First Contact. Some people think it contradicted Star Trek's overall continuity, which I disagree with that. I think it fit in really well. A mysterious cyborg's attack. I always thought the way that they dealt with the Borg in First Contact, there should be some literal fallout from that situation. And then Enterprise gave us some literal fallout that happened to land in the Arctic and had been preserved, and then rose up and caused trouble. And some mysterious cyborgs caused some trouble in Enterprise Season 2, and it's the Borg, and it's a great follow-up to First Contact. I consider it to be the best Borg episode ever. Voyager had some okay ones and some weak ones, and, you know, really, when they first introduced the Borg in Q-Who, unless I remembered the name of the episode wrong, during Season 2 of The Next Generation, that was one of the best Borg episodes. They were so appropriately creepy. Best of Both Worlds was also pretty awesome, too, but it was a return to form with that episode, and it was a sequel to First Contact. And First Contact, to me, was just kind of like a generic action movie. It plays an important role to me as its position in the Star Trek timeline. Not so much as a movie that I enjoy for just being full of great Star Trek goodness. But Regeneration, to me, Regeneration redeemed First Contact because it was such an awesome sequel to First Contact. Yes, it was an episode in a series, but that episode in that series was a sequel to the movie First Contact, and it was so fucking perfect. And then you have Season 3, also Season 4, which were just chocked full of Star Trek goodness. So much introductions to the Andorians and Orions and Tellarites, and the Vulcans play an important role. And just the best TV show ever. And, yeah. And trying to think of things that could be considered important to First Contact. You know what? I'm gonna, let's see, there's nothing on the front cover of this that's controversial. Just gonna make sure, no, all nipples are covered. Okay, alright. Now this is Star Trek Hustler. This ain't Star Trek XXX. Yeah! Now, this, you know, not quite authorized by CBS or Paramount or any of that. No, of course not. No Viacom approval on this one. This is because it's a porno parody. Even says right down there under the triple X's. This is a porno parody. It's a parody. But hey, you know what? In this one, Khan, instead of leaving Earth at an uncomfortably early point in the timeline for, you know, Star Trek as a futuristic prediction, you know, they kind of made Khan's starship being one that was released around the time of First Contact. Not necessarily the exact same time as First Contact, but it could very easily be an early warp vessel based on that little shift in the timeline in this alternate video here where apparently Khan left Earth at a far later point in time. And why not? Why not? He has cybernetic sleeper technology. He could have left Earth at a later time. Why not? Why not? And this little alternate Star Trek reality, I think, works better than the famous J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, also known as the Star Trek Kelvinverse movies. Works better than Star Trek Discovery or Star Trek Picard. So, hey, good stuff here in Hustler Star Trek. And, I mean, you know what? Star Trek, the animated series. Gotta grab this for a second. Don't want to spend too much time on this one. I mean, I could have grabbed a bunch of other Star Trek stuff. But Star Trek, the animated series. What do I think about this show? Well, it was actually weaker than Star Trek, the original series, Season 3. So, it's got its problems. But it's also got some great episodes, too. It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. And if you follow the star dates in it, if you pay really close attention to the star dates in it, I'm just setting it back down. It could take place just about anywhere during the timeline of the original series. And I tend to think of that as potentially being an alternate timeline. Starfleet has discovered some technologies that they otherwise didn't seem to have in the regular timeline. I mean, the life support belts alone seem more advanced than anything Voyager's doctor ever wore, because, I mean, the life support belts, they gotta be more advanced than the holographic generator. And anyway, before I get into that, it always felt like an alternate timeline. Things even anomalies in space turned out differently. And they have like the Bonaventure's referenced as like the first full-fledged warp-capable starship. And I always thought that Star Trek the Animated Series would work great as an alternate timeline where the Borg didn't shoot up a bunch of people involved with the original warp program and Zephyr Cochrane and all that. If they hadn't shot up a bunch of people then, you know, Earth's warp technology should have, in the early days, should have been a lot more advanced, and thus you could explain why there were a lot more early Starfleet designs or early Earth ships prior to Kirk's Enterprise. So, I don't know, like, there were little things in Star Trek the Animated Series that made me feel as though it works best as an alternate timeline to the original series. And on top of that, I often think, you know what, if you were to place it in the Star Trek multiverse of split timelines, I'd say the one where the Borg didn't interfere with First Contact might be a good consideration for where it could exist in the timeline. That said, as it is, when you watch Star Trek First Contact, it does seem to be a stable time loop that the show we were watching all along was already the result of this timeline change, and we're just getting up to the point where it was actually set in motion. But you know what? I'm going to jump along here to, I mean, what as I flip through this stuff, I come back to Star Trek Picard again as I flip through stuff, and yeah, I already mentioned this. I mean, one of the later era Next Generation stuff, and one of my hairs is like going in front of my face and itching my nose, well, causing my nose to itch. And, oh, one thing about this, as we perhaps move on from the Star Trek universe, because why not have a little bonus here, you know, as you never know, I might be so late uploading this, it might be I might miss the Star Trek day and hit the Star Wars day instead. If you look for it, if you know where to look for it, around the time during the big battle with the Borg at the start of Star Trek First Contact, where there's an Akara-class starship flying towards the Borg cube, and an Oberth-class starship zooming around the Borg cube, and they're both firing on it. You definitely see a good phaser beam coming off the Oberth-class starship. A very underrated starship. Those are really cool starships. If you're playing Star Trek The Next Generation, Birth of the Federation, build a bunch of Oberths. They're fucking awesome. Yeah, the Oberth-class starship, Akara-class starship, really far in the background, you can see, I believe it's known as a Corellian freighter. The same sort of starship you would see as the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars. Yeah, because of the people who did the special effects also worked on the Star Wars movies. They had a CGI version of the Millennium Falcon, and apparently a starship, not necessarily the Millennium Falcon, but a starship from the Star Wars universe apparently was available to fight the Borg cube if you look really close for that detail. So, a little bit of Star Wars in Star Trek. So, I mean, turnabout is fair play. I mean, if you were to, mentioning Star Wars, where's this damn thing? Like, get my fingers on it and pull it out of the... Oh, yeah. Here we have. But, you know, after all, in Star Wars Episode 4, or this version of it that's too stupid to add the episode numbers, and this one here, Star Wars A New Hope, if you listen, it's kind of easy to miss, but if you listen really careful for it, in Star Wars Episode 4, when you're in Obi-Wan Kenobi's home, and there's no music cues going on in the background, and if you can hear it over even the little sound effects in the background, there's one particular sound effect. It's slowest, it's in the background, you might have to crank up your volume for it. You can notice the food synthesizer sound from Star Trek, the original series.
Okay.
Aye, they're into the machinery all right, and they're probably in all the other food processors too.
So it sounds like Obi-Wan Kenobi is synthesizing something Star Trek style. Plus mentioning, you know, First Contact, maybe Episode 1. If you watch for Qui-Gon Jinn does the Vulcan neck pinch on Jar Jar Binks in one scene when he tells him to calm down and he doesn't calm down. And Obi-Wan Kenobi says, maybe you overdid it. And while some people refer to it as the Enterprise in the background of a scene, there does appear to be an Enterprise, as in Next Generation Enterprise, Easter egg in one of the scenes. And when they're on Coruscant, there's a scene where out the back window you can see a starship that's shaped a lot like the Starship Enterprise. Specifically, it's kind of... Alright, so there's another edit point because I ran out of space on this recording device. And through the magic of editing, I'll have to finish whatever I get the cut off saying there. But yeah, commenting on some Star Trek stuff in Star Wars, because there's a Star Wars starship, you know, Corellian freighter, whatever class of Corellian starship the Millennium Falcon is. That same type of starship can be seen really small in the background, kind of blurry, but nonetheless there. You can make out the shape of the forked kind of front of it, as well as the cockpit off to one side. You can see a Millennium Falcon type starship in First Contact. In the same scene where you can more clearly see an Akara class starship, especially its warp nacelle, and an Oberth class starship battling the Borg cube. And of course, if you listen really careful for it, in Obi-Wan Kenobi's home in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, you can hear the sound effect from the Star Trek original series food synthesizer. And yeah, and of course the Vulcan neck pitch gets used on Jar Jar Binks. And then also in Star Wars Episode 1, the one that had the neck pinch being used on Jar Jar, later you can see a starship that seems to be heavily inspired by the Enterprise.
Bureaucrats, Senator. There'll be nothing left of our people, our way of life. I've decided to go back to Naboo. I pray you will bring sanity and compassion back to the Senate.
It has the general shape of the Galaxy-class Enterprise, but the proportions more of the Excelsior-class Enterprise. Its bridge, the area where the bridge would normally be on one of those starships, appears to be raised up a little bit more. But overall, a very Star Trek-looking starship can be seen way, way, way back in the background on the planet Coruscant in a scene. In fact, I think you can see either a couple starships of that style, or maybe the same one was going back and forth for some reason.
Bureaucrats, Senator. There'll be nothing left of our people, our way of life. I've decided to go back to Naboo. I pray you will bring sanity and compassion back to the Senate.
Though it is not exactly proportioned like a Galaxy-class starship. However, in this right here, also wrapped in plastic as a little protective layer, and kind of shaped like a book, but there's actually 4 DVD discs in this. Yes, I don't know, I don't have access to it on Blu-ray. You know, if I knew somebody with it on Blu-ray who wanted to come over when I did this video, I actually don't know anybody that has this on Blu-ray. Maybe I know somebody that has on Blu-ray, but I don't know that they have it on Blu-ray if they do. But anyway, on DVD here, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and you know, some bonus features in the form of paper pages in between the parts of this DVD case that holds the discs. On one of the actual discs, it would be disc 1, there is an episode. In fact, it's episode 2. Episode 2 of season 1 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. If you look for it, and you know where to look for it, and it's actually kind of obvious once you know where to look for it, there's a Cardassian starship. I believe people online who can pick out the little bits have said it's Keldor, that one that starts with a K. That class of Cardassian ship. I guess if you're really picky, you can tell it's not a Galore class. It's a Keldon class. I think I'm mispronouncing that. I don't know. I'm not up on the names of the Cardassian class starships. Know a little bit about them, but you know, I know the general appearance of them. You know, pretty familiar with building them in Star Trek The Next Generation, Birth of the Federation, and seeing them a lot in Star Trek The Next Generation and Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Good old Cardassian starships. Apparently on a computer monitor, on what's his name? Oh, I can't remember his name. Oh, damn it, I can't remember the character's name. I can picture him. You know, the cyborg guy. General Grievous, that's his fucking name, yeah. On his starship, yeah, apparently at some point, it looks like that starship has got a glimpse of some starship from the Star Trek universe, and it's a Cardassian starship. Now, the question is, could you be just confusing the overall shape of a similar shaped Star Wars ship? And I was looking at anything in that episode, and no, there was nothing in that episode that was close enough to be that very Cardassian starship-shaped image. At one point I thought maybe the ship itself with its big ion weapons on the side, if you looked at it the wrong angle, it could look like that. And no, it doesn't. It's actually a Cardassian starship. So, a Cardassian starship, the overall shape of it, has appeared on one of the little spherical computer monitors on a starship in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Which is actually properly shaped like a Cardassian starship, unlike the loosely Enterprise-inspired starship in Star Wars Episode 1. Kind of putting that on par with Millennium Falcon in Star Trek First Contact, which is really Millennium Falcon shaped. Which is, I don't know, pretty cool. I like little crossovers, and if you can't do a crossover, there's always, I like little Easter egg-like crossovers, you know, little hidden little bonuses. Interesting thought here, just a little thought here. Okay, Marvel Comics ultimately has the rights to Star Wars comics now. because it's owned by Disney. Walt Disney, the Disney Corporation. It tries to act like it's a sanitized, family-friendly corporation, but of course it's named for Walt Disney, a Nazi-sympathizing, rid-baiting, McCarthy-smearing blacklister who, you know, a little bit on the fascistic side. That's right, he could animate cartoons at a relatively high frame rate, and he could build a theme park with fascistic philosophy in mind. But, yeah, he's a scumbag, yeah. Scumbag Disney Corporation who does scumbag things and fire people for stupid reasons, yeah, like they're any better. Fuck Disney. Anyway, yeah, Disney owns Star Wars now, unfortunately. I mean, George Lucas was pretty cool. They even had, like, fan film conventions for Star Wars. And then it got sold to Disney. Oh man, what a disgrace. And of course, Star Trek ended up under the leering eye of CBS. But anyway, yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, IDW has the rights to do Star Trek comics. Marvel has Star Wars. But apparently Disney or Lucas or whatever, Lucasfilm, somewhere along the line, in addition to having Marvel Comics publish Star Wars comics, there's also the Star Wars is licensed out to IDW, and IDW is producing Star Wars comics. So IDW is doing both Star Trek and Star Wars comics, and IDW is known for liking crossovers. Do a crossover, do a good one, do something good. Have it take place in a parallel universe, parallel to both universes. You know, a certain number of Federation starships get lost in that universe. Some Empire starships get lost in that universe. And time passes and they've built up little civilizations that are echoes of the versions that they, you know, the universes they came from. And then they're forced to battle it out, you know, with and, you know, of course, the Star Trek colonies would be capable of building, you know, Star Trek starships with warp drive and all that stuff, and the Star Wars ones with hyperdrive. So with the Star Trek ships, you know, the Empire would be the Empire. They would, you know, try to fucking take over, and, you know, and they would have far faster ships that could blip in anywhere else in space. You know, they would be able to bypass it, get out of fights in a hurry, you know, all that wonderful stuff. But then the Star Trek starships, you know, would be far more agile, could target things at a farther distance. So, I mean, the Star Trek starships could easily just chew up and shred the Star Wars starships. I mean, there's been a lot of debates online, but the thing is, I mean, Star Trek starships could just stay out of range of the Star Wars ships and do a lot of damage. And I mean, with how accurate phasers can rapidly pinpoint targets, I mean, there wouldn't be any point in sending TIE fighters at them, because it'd just be like, they'd be blown up before they even got off a shot, if they're lucky to get off a shot or two. But that said, the Star Wars ships would if they follow with the Empire's ability to mass produce, they could mass produce so many ships and be able to get to so many locations. They could really put the Star Trek ships to task in an overall situation where they, you know, like, it actually could make for an interesting conflict of ships that were heavily armed with massive numbers of turbo lasers and proton torpedoes, and ships that are far more agile and could easily avoid a lot of that firepower, but then end up being totally outnumbered. Now that could be like an interesting little setup for like throwing the different advantage. But anyway, yeah, that might even work better in a video game than a comic book. You know, strategizing different advantages against each other. But yeah, I'm just leaning on the wall over here. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, just thinking of that, just mentioning that, because, you know, when I mentioned First Contact, it's like, why not mention, you know, this little Star Wars reference in Star Trek First Contact, and then in turn, you know, turn around and reference some of the Star Trek references in Star Wars, and, yeah. I like, whenever I reference one of the universes of sci-fi and comic books and fantasy and, you know, video games and all that stuff, I like any excuse I can to reference it and compare it to another one. And, you know, Star Trek and Star Wars actually complement each other fairly well. similar space physics. Star Wars is a little less well thought out, but it has its good points, you know. And yeah, I'm not sure what to say. Not sure where to go there. You know, two great, well-known science fiction franchises, and yeah, you know, here I am to talk about First Contact, and yeah, and nonetheless, well, I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, I mean, I should bring this to an end soon. I already talked about, yeah, First Contact. Ended up chopping this video up into pieces because of, well, technical limitations. So yeah, that's my Star Trek First Contact Day rant. You know, there's still a pandemic going on. You know, last time I talked about Star Trek First Contact Day, there was a pandemic. And there's still a pandemic. Good old COVID-19 showing the human species that if you're going to murder and torture enough bats and pangolins in close proximity, yeah, the Earth might just, you know, nature might just work against you, you know. A well-earned pandemic, nothing to be proud of. Yeah. The Vulcans would be ashamed. Yep. Yeah, the stuff humans do. And then you wonder, I'm pretty sure George Carlin probably put it better, but, you know, and you wonder why when you see a UFO, it just keeps on going. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, alright, that's me talking about Star Trek and Star Wars. Speaking of, you know, such things, let's see, where's this right here? If you want an other series that's chocked full of Star Trek references, hey, here, also in protective plastic, Star Ocean EX, which is an animated adaptation of Star Ocean 2, chocked full of Star Trek references like the phase gun, which is, kind of sounds like a phase pistol, but it was actually made before Star Trek Enterprise, so it's actually referenced to phasers, which are a somewhat more advanced technology than phasers being more advanced than a phase pistol. And as for how advanced the phase gun is, I'm not sure if it's closer to a phaser or a phase pistol, but it's I don't know if it's phased energy modulation or phased energy rectification, but yeah. You know, that actually made it into Star Ocean. The reference to the phase pistol, or I mean the phase gun, is in Star Ocean EX. Though I remember Star Ocean had like references to like the Protected Planets policy, which is basically like the Prime Directive and stuff like that. And a lot of that didn't really make it into the animated series. I didn't find like I feel like the animated series could have done a better job of representing the video game and was way too silly at times. But you know, not bad. Speaking of things related to video games and science fiction, check this one out. Look at this. Phantasy Star Online Series 15th Anniversary Sympathy 2015, which is a symphony. Yes, a symphony, not a sympathy, even though it says sympathy on it. Which is, yeah, basically a concert with music from all the Phantasy Star games, from Phantasy Star Online right up to the current versions of Phantasy Star Online 2. So, you know, Phantasy Star Nova's in there, Phantasy Star Universe, Phantasy Star Zero. You know, they could have just did at some point they just could have gave respect, but they didn't. They didn't include any music from Phantasy Star 1, 2, 3, or 4. Especially that really awesome theme to Phantasy Star 4, which was really a revised version of the theme music to Phantasy Star 2, which was a revised version of the music from Phantasy Star 1. They should have gave more respect to the best of Phantasy Star, the classic Phantasy Star. But Phantasy Star Online, especially the first one, was really awesome. I don't have any experience with Phantasy Star Online 2. You know, it has come to North America, apparently, but I'm not a fan of video games that are online only. In fact, with the original Phantasy Star, half the time I played it online, half the time I played it offline, and I respected it because it had an offline mode. I liked the online mode, but to me it's a waste of time if you're not going to have an offline mode. And yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. But anyway, I noticed a moment ago I saw the car that delivers mail just went past, so I should go get the mail. See what I got. Maybe it's a Star Trek DVD or Blu-ray. Maybe it's porn. Woohoo! Yes, that's right, folks. Don't forget, there are some pretty amazing Star Trek parodies out there that actually work as pretty legitimate parallel universes to Star Trek. And while this one is mostly for humor, there actually is one out there called Star Trek: The Next Generation, a porno parody, with a very dark, serious story that even ends with Picard lamenting out the window over friends and people he's watched die, even more than once due to space-times and circumstances, and how he kind of feels almost responsible for getting them involved with Starfleet and hiring them. And it's a very serious plot line to Star Trek: The Next Generation. I forget if it's officially titled a porno parody or an XXX parody. I forget. But you know, there's some great Star Trek parodies out there that I do believe do a good job of complementing the Star Trek multiverse and are far more true to the spirit of Star Trek. Far more loving respect for the Star Trek content than the J.J. Abrams movies or Star Trek Discovery. Or what the fuck was Star Trek Picard? Oh my god, that was horrible. Not to be confused with the Star Trek Picard TV and movie collection, which is an excellent Blu-ray collection. Now I'm just gonna set this right back here. Alright, with that stuff and that stuff, and alright, and I will bring this video to an end as I put that away, and somehow I managed to get enough caffeine in my system to do a video. I'm gonna end this and peace out, live long and prosper, avoid the plague, and just remember, don't go murdering the bunny corn. First off, it's unethical. And if you look at what happened when people murdered enough bats and pangolins in close proximity, and then you end up with a worldwide plague, think of what the bunny corn could have if you force its illnesses to mutate into something that could cross species. Yeah, we don't actually have to worry about the bunny corn in real life, I know. I just want to say, is around the time this pandemic was spreading across the earth, airing on CTV Sci-Fi, as it was also being released on CBS All Access. You get to see Riker's family murdering the bunny corn. Yeah, that was something I joked about the last time I did anything related to the Star Trek First Contact Day. And it's just as relevant today because there's still a plague out there. You know, because humans mistreat other life forms on planet Earth. The Vulcans would be ashamed. The Vulcans would be ashamed. And that's just me ending this video, reminding you, don't forget your decontamination gel. I really like this stuff, Guard brand. Life Buoy or Life Boy or however you pronounce it. I heard it pronounced Life Boy, but I always called it Buoy. Oh, there's a big one right here. Life Buoy. I used a lot of this. This was one of my favorites. That and Guard, but I ended up using more Guard. I mean, this is just so awesome. I just want to coat myself in it, and it smells so good too. This is not a sponsor. I'm not paid to say that, but I could spend all day just saying, you know what, I like that stuff. I just keep coating myself in it. You know, first off, it's like, you know, humans are out there touching stuff, and humans are mostly pretty fucking disgusting. I mean, you know, every time I handle a doorknob or something like that, I kind of want to decontaminate, and then this stuff's so fucking awesome. I just want to coat myself in it. The Life Buoy stuff's pretty good too, but this stuff, you can tell like it has, you know, a good dose of ethyl alcohol, and there's some isopropyl alcohol in there too as a bonus. You know, it's like, You know, it's a germ-killing good times with that stuff, you know. That's a really good decontamination gel. I mean, you just wanna pull off your uniform, get together with a Vulcan, and just lube each other down. That's some good decontamination gel. Good enough they should load up the NX-01 Enterprise with that decontamination gel, because they don't have biofilters. They don't have the transporter with biofilters. I mean, they have a transporter, but, you know, no advanced biofilters, you know. Not that advanced yet. Oh, the decontamination gel. I spent a lot of time coating myself in decontamination gel in the past year. And, this isn't, I don't know, this isn't amusing enough for me to continue. Anyway, live long and prosper. Peace out, motherfuckers, and, you know, whatever. Live long and prosper, you know, whatever.
I don't care what universe you're from, that's gotta hurt.
Okay, that awkward rant is now over. We can consider the video done. And as for, you know, the visual entertainment scene in this video, Star Trek, Star Wars, the Orville, Futurama, the Naked Gun, you know, they all have copyright holders. They weren't used with permission. They were used in what would be considered fair use or fair dealing. At least I hope so. And, you know, and knowing what they are, you know, you can look up their copyright holders easily enough. You can find that information. That information is out there anyway. Peace out, live long and prosper. Yeah, I already ended this video, and I'm ending it once again. Feel free to look for more of my videos. Live long and prosper.